Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Hodes. As you all can see, much different view. Today, I am, for those that watch on YouTube at least, I'm outside on the deck here of this beach house down in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, enjoying my first, I guess, really long vacation of the summer. I'd like to think I earned this one after just, I haven't really been on a lot of vacations in the last year, but good to get away from some things. It's been good to stay on social media a little bit, but I still have a job to do and give you all some Penguins content. So for today's show, we're going to get into if Brian Dumoulin is traded, who is going to be on Chris Letang's pairing, who I think should be on Chris Letang's pairing. We're also going to get into some free agents that have not signed yet. Could there be some fits out there for the Penguins if they are able to move some more money out, especially a defenseman, and also, a small little scoop that pertains to Evgeny Malkin, and also wish him a happy birthday, go into some of his greatest moments as a Penguin, as he is now somehow 36 years old. If there's any background noise, I apologize. Some of these stupid cicadas like to be loud, but I'm hoping that they decide to go to bed for the night. So without further ado, let's get right on into it.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. You're going to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at LR_Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. First and foremost, happy late birthday to Evgeny Malkin, 36 years old. Again, it's hard to believe that he's almost 40 at this point. I mean, I remember the first time I came down here about 7-8 years ago, and it was right around the time that he was celebrating his 28th birthday. I mean, time just absolutely flies. I don't know if you saw his birthday cake. It was Lion King themed. He posted on his Instagram, had 3 Stanley Cups around it, and then had Rafiki, who's the gorilla, or on Pride Rock with Simba and all them, and he's putting up the 4th Stanley Cup, like, just to speak it into existence. So Evgeny Malkin badly wants to win a 4th Stanley Cup in Pittsburgh, and that's typical Geno stuff. I mean, it's crazy that he gets all of these theatrics. And while I'm talking about him, I guess I'll just get into the little scoop I have. So for those that don't have Twitter, don't follow me on there. I was told today. So if you are on Instagram but not on Twitter, or maybe you've seen these hats, Geno has been sporting these penguin, just a penguin kind of hat. And let me pull up the photo here if I can actually find it. So for those on YouTube, I'll put it up the screen right here. So I'll zoom in a little bit. So yeah, I think you all can see that. Well, I think so. Hopefully I can. Oh, if that's going to work. Basically it's, yellow square on the middle of the hat, like the one I have here. And then it has a penguin, and it's very cool. And I've heard that for all the fans that they've been wanting to get a hold of one of these hats, they're going to start being sold to the public in October. Price range, I don't know for sure. I've heard it might be 40 to 50, $60, somewhere in that range. I'll have to double check with the person who told me this, but he got off the phone today, and it sounds like those are going to be made available to the public in the next couple of months. So that is my little Geno scoop for you all for today. Also, again, just going back to his birthday, I saw Pittsburgh, the SB Nation affiliate for the Penguins. They posted the goal. The goal heard around the world for Geno, and probably my favorite Malkin goal of all time that we're talking about him on his birthday. The slap shot goal against the Philadelphia Flyers in 2008. I'll never get tired of hearing Joe Beninati's call. Evgeny Malkin says, "Take that," right after he got bodied by Mike Richards, of all people, and Jeff Carter, I think, was on the ice at the same time too. And he's definitely cherry picking on that goal. I'm sure you all remember. And he comes in and just uncorks that freaking thing. Just says to Marty Baron, you know what? F you. Basically, I'm not gonna say that word on the podcast, but that is the kind of goal that I equate it to. It is basically a F you goal. You stink. That this is what you get for hitting me behind the net. And his celebration was also epic. Whitney coming over and just like screaming in his face. That will always be, I think, for me personally, my favorite Malkin goal of all time. It's my second favorite one. I mean, the hat trick goal against Carolina in 2009, as they said versus all me all the time. Joe Buonannoti's call, Evgeny Malkin, spectacular for the hat trick. Yeah, it's just, the way he was able to go around the net, the skating that he had, the precision with that shot, spins around, roofs it past Cam Ward. Carolina, they were playing that as good as they could have. And it still wasn't enough. I mean, that was prime Evgeny. I shouldn't say that was prime. That was peak Evgeny Malkin stuff right now. My third favorite, I think the goal against Tampa Bay in 2011 when he just went 1-on-5 against everyone, deked. I believe it was Dwayne Rollison in net. That was just something to behold. Even honestly, this year in the playoffs, that was probably one of my favorite Geno goals, when he just vintage stuff with his skating, intercepting the puck at the blue line, coming in, not even caring who's behind him, who's next to him, and just roofing it past Igor Shesterkin. It just brought me back to 5 or 6 years ago when he was doing that on a nightly basis. Those are probably just right there my 4 favorite Geno goals. There's so many other ones that I could reference. I believe he was the one. I remember he had the overtime goal, Game 5 against the Capitals in 2009 when that went in. Well, it went off the Capitol and in, but Geno was the one that had the rush there going and stuff. And that basically, besides that Chris Letang goal, that turned the season in the Penguins' favor. But I could go on and on, truthfully, but those are the ones that over the years have really, I guess, stood out to me. Now I'm probably forgetting so many great ones right now, and I'm sure if people bring them up in the comments or DM me them, I'll be like, yeah, I'm an idiot for not mentioning them in my top 5. But for me personally, those are 5 of my favorites. Again, happy birthday to Geno. Just a spectacular career for him, and I can't wait to see him retire as a Penguin. There's still so many great moments for him to come as a member of this team. He's going to hit 1,000 games this year. He's going to probably, he's going to score his 500th goal very soon too. He's going to hit, over 1,200 points, probably 1,300 points by the time his career is over. He has many more milestones to hit with this team, and I can't wait to see him hit them. So happy birthday, Geno. Hope 36 is, the best one yet. And for that cake, I can't wait to see what he does next year for his birthday. So figured I would start out today's show with kind of, I guess, like a nice ode to Geno in a way. But coming up in the second segment, we're going to get into who I think should be on the Penguins' top defensive pair if Pittsburgh does ship out Brian Dumoulin. I know it doesn't look likely right now based on what, the Penguins, said to the media and what Josh Yohe and a couple others have reported, but there's sometimes GMs bluff, so who knows basically at this point. But before I get to that, BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check on all your betting needs. You can find all of your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. You can head to BetOnline today or use your phone to learn more about the trends in action. That is BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, I'm back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. You want to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. So let's get into this here. And I was listening to Dejan Kovacevic's DK Daily Shot, and he was talking about this as well. on Monday, I thought, this would also be a really good podcast topic for my show, because, it's still a very distinct possibility. If Mike Matheson were still here, I think it would be easier for the Penguins to trade Brian Dumoulin. And that's not to say, that I think the Penguins regret trading him. I don't, especially because I think Petrie is a better player, and I think a lot of fans are going to see that. But, if they do trade Dumoulin, again, it's a little hard for the Penguins because, you don't have that heir apparent ready for him. You look on the roster, because I don't know if they're going to go out and sign someone cheap to come play on the top pair. You go to Cap Friendly right now, the top defenseman on the market, PK Subban, but he's a right D, Anton Strawman, Danny DeKaiser, but he's not really that good at his point in his career. Calvin DeHaan, not that good either. Thomas Hickey, he barely even plays anymore. Ryan Murray, Scott Harrington, Chris Russell of all people, Nathan Boyo. It drops off very quick. Heck, honestly, it has dropped off quick after John Klingberg went to the Anaheim Ducks. There is literally no good defenseman on the market for the Penguins. They would literally have no choice but to promote someone from within. I don't know why this bird is deciding to just make all this noise out here. I think it's just a mating call or something like that. But, in terms of the Penguins, without Matheson or Marino, it's tough. Would they be comfortable promoting Pettersson up full time? We've seen Pettersson a little bit with Letang, but, I think he works a lot better on the second pairing with someone like Petrie. I don't think he can handle 25 to 30 minutes a night. As you all can see, change positions. This bird out there was really just getting on my nerves. But again, back to what I was talking about with Marcus Pettersson. He would probably be the most logical choice to replace Letang, but because like him and Brian Dumoulin, they're kind of good at the same thing, right? Good in their own zone. They don't bring a lot of offense. So I think Pettersson is probably better in the offensive zone than Letang is, but I don't think Pettersson is equipped to play top pairing minutes like Dumoulin has, in his prime. He's always been someone, Pettersson, that is, that can play 18, 20 a night, all that stuff. I don't think, because especially with how much Letang plays now, again, he's still playing 25, 26, sometimes even almost half the game. I don't think Pettersson is that guy. In my opinion, you go down the lineup. Petrie, obviously, he's not going to play on the left side in the top pairing. Chad Beadle, he is also not going to play up there. Mark Friedman, probably not. I think if Mark Friedman is on your top pairing, you are a bad hockey team. And that's no disrespect to Friedman. I think he's a very serviceable player. Good on the bottom pair, maybe sometimes get away with him on the second pair for a few games. But if he is on your top pair, you are probably tanking for the number one pick. That is how I see it. Basically, he would probably be their top pairing, one of their top, either on the top pair or the second pair on the Chicago Blackhawks, because I don't even know if that team is going to win 20 games next year. Juuso Riikola, again, he's not here. So the only option that, would honestly think might make the most sense, even though it's a little bit of a scary thought, putting POJ up with the Tang. And, they've played together in the past. The metrics weren't that kind, below 50% of the shot attempt share, below 50% of the scoring chances, below 50% of the high danger chances, expected goals. But, I think that came when PO was still a bit unpolished. And, he still is a little bit now, but, it's now or never. And yeah, he's not going to really be, easing himself into an NHL role with this. But, I think of all the defensemen on this roster, and I don't think Jan Ruta will be there because, he's going to be playing on the right side. Ty Smith, it would be fun to have him up there, but after what happened last season with him in New Jersey, the Penguins are going to want to take it slow with him. I don't think he's going to be sent down to Wilkes-Barre, but who knows? They might have to if they don't have their salary cap situation solved by the start of the regular season. But it might be POJ that has to play up there with Letang, and you look at the underlying metrics. This past season played in 5 games, 57 total minutes, 68 minutes, excuse me. Played in 4 games. I was looking at you cerebrally there for a second. Natural stat trick was killing me there. But he was on when he was on the ice, the Penguins had close to 57% of the shot attempts, 40% of the actual goals for, 64% of the expected goals, 50% of the scoring chances, 56% of the high danger chances. No high danger goals for, 2 high danger goals against. But the metrics, very small sample. I understand that, but relatively fine. Again, it really is now or never. I thought he played well a year ago when he was, playing on the second and third pairing. I know injuries forced him up to the top pairing. He was not ready for that, but I think with the polishing that he had last year in Wilkes-Barre, if Dumoulin is traded, the Penguins might have little choice but to put him up there if they don't want to go out into free agency and sign someone. Because again, remember the players that I listed off to you all at the start. If you just turned in now, go back about a couple minutes. I listed some of the defensemen that are still available. It is a really bad market, unless the Penguins are getting a defenseman back in the Dumoulin trade that makes, I don't know, $2 million or something like that. But then again, if they do trade Dumoulin for a defenseman, you're stuck with him at 90, and it's like, what's going on here? The reason they would trade Dumoulin is to get less defensemen on the roster. So, I think it's a tough call for Ron Hextall. I do think Dumoulin should be the one to go off the blue line, but it's easier said than done because I do understand the logic that the Penguins want to give him another shot to see if he can rebound, see if he can stay healthy. I think that's been one of the biggest things with him the last few years. Ever since he had that ankle injury a few years ago, he has not been the same player. Skating has gone down. Even defensively last season, I was like, okay, he is not defending his own zone the way he used to. When he's losing a lot of battles with his foot speed, something is amiss there, I think. So, again, in my opinion, might be unpopular. If Dumoulin is traded and the Penguins are looking for someone in-house to replace his minutes, I think it's probably going to have to be POJ, unless Ty Smith just wows them at camp. If Ty Smith does do that, then I would probably argue for him, especially because, he's had good results in New Jersey. But right now, I'm kind of leaning towards POJ. And yeah, it's probably not the best thing, but again, do you trust Marcus Pettersson on the top pairing? Probably not. Do you trust Mark Friedman up there? Probably not. Some of the other guys on the right side, they're not probably going to move over. Mike Sullivan usually likes lefties on the left side, righties on the right side. Most of the time, I know Friedman, he's a righty, but he plays on the left. But that's just that's Mark Friedman at the end of the day. So let me know in the comments and in my DMs and stuff, if Brian Dumoulin is traded, who would you elevate to the top pairing? Do you think I'm insane for suggesting POJ? Let me know down in the comments and in my DMs and stuff if you're not watching the show on YouTube. Coming up in my final segment, we're going to get into some free agent forwards that are still on the market that could be of use to the Penguins if they do move a D out and create some cap space available to make the forward depth a little bit deeper. So that's all coming up right after this commercial break. All right, I'm back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can also follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. It's been a very sad day today. At least for me, my baseball team won Soto. And Josh Bell got traded. And, I know probably most of you listening to the show, most of you, I would say, are probably Pirates fans. So, I definitely sympathize with when a team is just not good. But, hey, at least Juan Soto delivered me a World Series a few years ago. But it's still, these kind of days are very hard. The team is just going to reek for the next several years. Getting into the free agent market here. Still a lot of pretty good players on the market. Again, I keep saying this, but it keeps ringing true. The flat cap has really, and I mean really, affected the market this year. So many good players have still not signed yet. We're already into August. And, sure, some of them they're going to trickle in at some point this month, but I think you're going to see a lot of these teams, signing these players towards the start of camp, which is set to begin in about 6 to 7 weeks now. You look at the market. Phil Kessel's still out there. Patrice Bergeron, but he's either going to be Boston or he's not going to be playing anywhere. Louis Eriksson, Nazem Kadri, obviously, Victor Rask. And, the player that I really wanted to start the segment with is Paul Stastny. 36 years of age, so he would definitely fit in with what the Penguins have been doing this offseason, but was really good last year. 21 goals, 45 points in 71 games, can play left wing or can play center. The metrics for him, when he's on the ice, the Jets had 52% of the shot attempts, 56% of the actual goals, 52% of the scoring chances, 50% of the high danger chances, and 60% of the actual high danger goals for. I would absolutely love to bring Stastny into this team. Again, I understand it involves getting a bit older, and the team age average is just going to keep going up. But this player can still play. Had almost 50 points last year. Underlines are very good. Can play multiple positions. Even though I think he's mainly been on the wing the last couple of years. If I can, I'm trying to make sure I get this right because I really do not want to get that wrong. I think I was, I think he's mainly played center with Winnipeg, but he has a history of playing wing when available. He can play either one. It doesn't really matter. And at the end of the day, it does make the Penguins a deeper hockey team. It gives them another goal scorer that I think they desperately need. You can put him on the third line. You can put him with maybe Evgeny Malkin, especially because he's played left wing at points in his career. He would be a hell of a lot of fun. Victor Rask is someone that I've also seen people throw around. But, 21 points in 47 games last year underlines were all right. Sure, he's almost 30 years old, but, he's kind of, I guess a third or fourth liner at this point in his career. A player who I think would be a lot of fun to bring onto this team, Sonny Milano, last year with the Ducks, 14 goals, 34 points in 66 games. He can play either wing, to be honest with you. And again, he would make the Penguins an even deeper team. Put him on the third line with Carter or Heinen or something like that. You can also put him on the second line with Evgeny Malkin. Someone who can potentially, get close to 20 goals. Last year, I'm going to pull up the underlines here from Milano. And this was on a not good Ducks teams. When he was on the ice, Anaheim had 52% of the shot attempt share. They had almost 50% of the actual goals. 52% of the expected goals, 52% of the scoring chances, 52% of the high danger chances, and 51% of the actual high danger goals for. Honestly, I think you can probably get him for a couple million. I don't think he's going to get 4 to 5 million on the open market. Maybe 3.5 at the most. I don't even know if he's going to get that at this point. I think it's going to be lower than that. Again, probably 2s, the 3 ranges, something like that. He would be a great fit for the Penguins if they are looking to get deeper here at forward. If they do move a defenseman out, just making sure I got most of the names. If you've already touched on Evan Rodriguez, Tyler Mott would be interesting, but 7 goals, 15 points in 58 games, kind of a hard pass. I think on that, but those are most of the players that I would be looking at if I were the Penguins after they do make a trade. Remember, it was close to around this time 6 years ago when Jim Rutherford made that trade for Nick Manu, and that actually opened up the cap space for them to go sign Eric Fair, who became the team's fourth line center and scored two of the biggest playoff goals for the Penguins in that 2016 run, like the game winner against Washington in Game 2, and the game winner against the Sharks in Game 4 to go up 3-1 in the Stanley Cup Final. So, don't underestimate these kinds of signings, especially when the cap space is available for the Penguins. If they are able to open up some cap and move a D or 2 out, they will be able to afford one more forward to really make this team either as deep as last year's or potentially even deeper. Right now, I don't think they're as deep as last year's team. Yes, they brought a couple players back, including Heinen last week. It's very good. But right now, again, they are still at least one forward short, in my opinion, potentially 2. And so a couple players I mentioned will definitely be, I think, top 6 wingers for Geno. A couple other players can play on the third line. Maybe if injuries come up, well, maybe when injuries come up, you can slide them up there for a little bit. But There's some serious talent out there still on the market. And I think, again, if the Penguins are able to make a move, it would behoove them to sign another forward. That'll do it for this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. And another record-setting month for the month of July. I know it's definitely a bit slow right now in terms of news. It's the dog days of summer. August, there's usually not much that happens, but just stay with me through this month as we get closer and closer to training camp, which will begin mid to late September. It's going to be here before you know it. It's going to be here before I know it. And then we'll be back to doing 5 episodes a week. So let me know what you all thought. Let me know what you all thought about the episode down in the YouTube comments if you're watching on YouTube, and if you have any other suggestions, for those that listen to the audio show, you can DM me on social media and all of that jazz. So thank you all so much for listening. I'll have another episode for you all on Wednesday, and then another one after that on Friday. Have a good day.